Lord, we just thank you for this morning, Father. As always, we thank you for the opportunity to be able to jump into your word. Lord, especially the opportunity to be able to dive into the Hebrew. Lord, as we get a chance to practice this morning what we've been working on and building up for the past several weeks, past several months, Lord, as we desire to implement it, Father, and begin to use it to dive into and to try to comprehend exactly what's taking place within your word. And so, Lord, we just pray that you would be with us, you would speak to us, you would give us wisdom and insight, Lord, as we desire to be students of your word. So we give you this time. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, just a quick review. We'll go through these quickly since there's just a couple of you this morning so far. But it's a reminder, our letters. So there's not a whole lot of options we want to call upon, so you guys are just going to have to be the ones to jump on in. Give me some letters. What's this one?
Aleph.
Aleph.
Bet.
Bet.
Gimel.
Gimel.
Dalet.
Dalet.
He.
That's the he. Now, mind you, it's always the key. I'll see if I can't just bring these up, because if I repeat this, I find that it tends to help with kind of bringing it into our memory how this works. But when you're dealing with the letters, remember the bet and the kaf look very, very similar. It can often be confused. And the he and the chet are very, very similar. The difference is just that upper left branch touches in the chet and it doesn't in the he. So again, those are easy to confuse. And on the dalet, by the way, and the resh can also be very confusing.
Also.
Because it's very, very similar in formation. The dalet has that hard right angle, whereas the resh is rounded, and that's the only difference between the two of them, so easy to forget those two. How about this one? Our favorite, this is frequent.
Vav.
That's your vav, which, by the way, has the exact same sound as the bet, if the bet doesn't have a dot. Two different ways you can form the V sound in Hebrew. How about this one?
Ayin. Ano gani?
Not the ayin. Close.
Yeah. What's the other one? Arlene, help. The one
Yes, pa. Wala naka-share yung video sa akon.
Oh. No wonder ako lang kasabat.
David's video is off.
My video is off.
Kaya may ayin.
Zayin. I gave it a minute, but go for it.
Okay. Zayin.
That's the zayin. The zayin is the z sound.
Wala kagapon.
Wala. Uay, tita?
Ah. It's sharing. Let me try to share it again, see what it does. Here, hold on a second. Stop sharing, I'll share it again.
Okay na pass.
Let me share it again. Basically what? How about Subong?
Okay na pass.
Okay na. Oh, there you go. May ma-recite manupod na sa ako.
Okay, this is the one we just talked about. This is not the head, this is the...
I don't know how to pronounce.
You gotta clear your throat nice and strong when you say it. The het. Het. It's always a fun one. How about this one?
It hasn't changed yet.
Tap.
That's the tet. Very good. Looks like a G, but that's the tet. How about the little comma?
Yod.
Yod.
Yo.
It's a fun one. Here's one of our triple forms. You've got a Magat Kafat letter, and it's also a final form.
Half.
That's the Kaf. Very good. How about this one?
Lamed.
That's the Lamed. What comes after L?
Mem.
Mem.
The mem, followed by
Nun.
Yun.
the noon. The mem and then the noon. And then you come into the first of these sounds. There's two that actually make this sound, but this is the first of them. It's not an O, it looks like an O, but that is the Samek, correct. This is the second of your silent letters.
Ayin.
Ayin.
The ayin and the aleph are your two vowel placeholders. They make no noise themselves, but they tell you there's a vowel sound there. And that's your second of your triple forms. You've got a bagak kafat and a final form as part of it.
Pe.
That is the pe. It's got the brafa, it's got the dagish leni. It's got the dot, it's a P. Without the dot, it's an F. And it's also got a final form to it. Here's one fun one. Looks like a Y, but it's not a Y.
Tate.
That's your tzadeh. This is your second K sound.
Kop.
Kaf. It's the same, by the way, if you got your kop, the kop, if it's got the dot, is a K sound. If it doesn't have the dot, it's a CH sound. But the kaf is the exact same sound. It's still a K sound, identical. It's just for spelling purposes, different spelling of words. Here we go. How about our little bent here, a little curved, looks like a delete, but it's not delete.
Res.
That's the resh. And then we have our double letter. Depending on where the dot is, depends on what it is.
Din and in.
The sin and the shin. If the dot is on the left, it's sin. If the dot's on the right, it's shin, S-H. And then our final vowel, final consonant.
Ow.
That is your tau. It is a bagak kafat letter, meaning it's got the dot. If it's got the dot in it, it's going to be a T sound. Same, by the way, identical as the te. So you have letters that actually have the same sound to them, just used for spelling purposes. If there is no dot, then it's a TH sound. It's got the sound to it. So, 22 letters.
Excuse me, Pastor Dave. There is some kind of a noise.
How about now?
There's some update. Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
No worries. 22 letters, 22 consonants. Hebrew, as a reminder, is a vowelless language in of itself. Though in our Bible, we do have vowels that are added by the Masoretes, because we use what's called the Masoretic text. The Masoretic text is the particular manuscript that all of our Bibles, every translation, there's no variation. Every translation comes out of the Masoretic text, every modern translation. King James, New King James, NIV, NLT, ASV, all those, ESV, all those are out of the Masoretic text in the Old Testament. They added to the actual manuscript the vowel markers for us by writing around the consonants. It's kind of the quirky thing they did. They kind of added dots and dashes below them. So let's go quickly review our vowel markers. See if I can remember this one. This is the first of them. Remember, you have A, E, I, O, U, but you have the A, E, I, O, U in the long and the short forms. So what's the patah? Do you remember what the patah is? What sound does that produce?
Short A.
That is your short A, followed by your comets, which is your
Long A.
long A. Pretty straightforward. You have your segol, which is the three dots. Remember, the bit there is just a placeholder. But the segol is what?
Short E.
That is your short E, followed by your sire. Your sire is going to be obviously then your
Long E.
long E. Now there's the quirk of the sire, because the sire can be followed by a yod. If you've got the two dots of the sire and the yod is the very next consonant, the yod is silent. It is not pronounced. That's one thing that kind of catches you sometimes. You do not pronounce the yod if it follows a siri, because it becomes the siri yod. So this yod essentially becomes a placeholder, much like your aleph or your ayin. It's just a placeholder for that vowel. So just know that if the yod is there after the siri, it's silent. No difference in pronunciation. The siri and the siri yod sound the same. It's just different spelling. How about the hirik? What's your hirik? One single dot. What vowel sound is that?
Short I.
That There's your short I, followed by your hirik yod. In this case, the yod does change the pronunciation. What is this now?
Long I.
Long I. So you got to watch out for those yods. Those yods can be tricky. If there's a yod following either a siri or a hirik, then the yod becomes silent. And in the case of the hirik yod, it changes the pronunciation. In the siri, it doesn't pronounces the same. A siri and a siri yod sound the same, but a hirik with the yod changes to the long form of the I. How about the kamatz etuf? Do you remember what the kamatz etuf is? It's always a tricky one.
I forgot.
So that becomes your long O is in most, ost. The catch is that the look of it is exactly the same as the kamatz. It's no different. It just is if it follows a hard consonant, then it becomes a kamatz etuf. And we'll have to show you that. And as we're reading through words, we'll go, oh, by the way, that right there, that's a kamatz etuf. So it's a bit of a tricky one. Don't worry about it too much. But just know that that is where you form your long O is out of the kamatz etuf. Which brings us to the full holum. What's the full holum? If your kamatz etuf is your short O, long O, your full holum is going to be your short O, is in to, O.
Okay.
It's your short O. Now, it can be formed two ways. It's a dot over a vav, and the vav becomes silent. It doesn't make any sounds. This is one of those placeholders. We mentioned to you that the he, the yod, and the vav, though they are consonants with sounds, can become placeholders. It depends on the word. If you've got a dot over the vav is silent. It doesn't have any pronunciation. It just becomes that short O, the full holum. But you can also have the defective holum, which just means there is no vav. It's just a dot over the next consonant, whatever it happens to be. If that dot is there, then it is going to be the defective holum. Same sound, just lacks the vav. So that gives you your last letter. You've got A, E, I, O. What remains is the last one?
U.
U. Your kibbutz, the three dots, is going to be your long U, is in pull, ul. And then you have your surik. Surik is going to be the dot with the vav. Vav becomes a placeholder, silent, makes no sound. The surik is your short, is in fruit, ut, fruit.
Okay.
So that's going to give you your 22 consonants, and it's going to give you your long and short versions of the vowels A, E, I, O, U. And that's your Hebrew pronunciation, which we've been working on. Now, that brought us into the grammar itself. For our grammar, remember that there were 14 terms. 14 terms that we wanted to make sure that we had down and had a good handle on. 7 stems, 7 types. And that's how they're going to be noted to us in Blue Letter Bible. 7 different stems. The stem is the how the verb is taking place. The type is going to give you, at times, the tense, the timing of it. Can also give you whether it's an imperative, whether it's a possibility, adjussive. So the type gives you a whole lot of information. Very unique grammar. Very different than English or Ilongo, which is why these stems and types are so important for us, because they mean that Hebrew grammar really doesn't form the way we expect it to, meaning there's often additional information that's there, or assumptions, interpretation on the part of the translator that it's good for us to see so we know whether or not we agree with it or not. So, what are our 7 stems? They're the kal, nifal, piel, pual, hifil, hofal, and hithbael. They're broken up into 2 main categories. Active, passive. Something that the action, the subject of the verb is doing. Something that the subject of the verb is receiving. Are you doing the action, receiving the action? So how does that work? Kal is you're doing the action. It's a simple action that you're doing. The example, of course, is the shooting. We talked about Justin Alford apparently likes his gun, so he uses that as his example. So if you shoot something, that's a kal, simple action. If you really shoot something intensively, you unload a clip into somebody, that's a PL. That's just not a simple action, it's an intensive action. There's also causative. You cause something to be shot. That's hifil. So you have simple, you have intensive, and you have causative in the active. That is your kal, pl, hifil. You also have the passive, receiving it. The passive is nifal. You receive the action. You were shot. But then you have the intensive receiving, pu'al. You were intensively shot. Someone unloaded a clip into you. And then there's the hofal. Someone caused you to be shot. So it's causative, but you receive the action. So you see how it's broken up into two categories: active, passive. Active, regular, intensive, and causative. Passive, regular, intensive, causative. You have the kal, pl, hifil. You have the nifal, pu'al, and hofal. So you have those, if you will, 6 stems that break up in those two categories are active or passive, and they're broken up by regular, intensive, or causative. And then the 7th and final one is the hithba'el, which is reflexive. You're doing something to yourself. So you're not just active, you're also receiving it. So you shot yourself. That's the reflexive or the hithba'el. So that's how your stems break up. Really, really powerful. Because it's going to tell you, is it something that is, you do the action? Are you receiving the action? Are you doing it intensively? Are you receiving it intensively? Is someone causing you to do it? Are you being caused to do it? So there's that nuance that is very hard to translate. So a lot of information in the Hebrew you just can't see in the English. Hithba'el, again, reflexive. That's usually pretty easy to translate, but good to see nonetheless. And then remember, when you're dealing with stems, it's also crucial for your interpretation of the meaning of the word, because the Hebrew definitions are broken down by their stems. When you look at the definition, you're going to see, here's the definition of the word as a kal. Here's the definition of the words a nifal. Here's the definition of the words a pl. Here's the definition of the word as a pu'al or a hithba'el. So the definitions are broken down by their stems, and that's going to help you with your interpretation. We're going to get into this briefly, but remember you have the 7 stems. But not just 7 stems, you also have the 7 terms. What are the 7 terms? Well, we see there's 14 in all. You remember 7 stems, 7 terms. The terms are perfect, imperfect, which is your timing. When does the verb take place? Because Hebrew doesn't have past, present, or future. So much fun. It has complete, perfect, incomplete, imperfect. Either the action is done or it's not done. That's it. We often would interpret the perfect as being past tense because it's completed. It's already done. The imperfect then becomes either present or future. How do you know? How can you say whether this particular verb is either present tense or future tense, since all we're given is it's imperfect? The answer is context. There's our lovely word that we enjoy so much. Context. You know by its context whether or not it's going to be future or whether it's going to be present. It's the only way to tell. I turn air conditioning here. Being stubborn. There it goes. Thank you. Present or future is strictly based upon the context of the particular verse. The actual grammar doesn't tell you. Isn't that fun? Hebrew grammar will not distinguish that. It doesn't say whether or not it's present or future. You just have to figure it out. It just says it's imperfect. The action's not complete yet. We'll look at that. You're going to love it. What's a cohorative? A cohorative, it shows like an intense nature to it. In fact, we had several cohoratives in our study we just did in Isaiah last night, where Isaiah was like talking to these idols, these false gods, and he says, bring your evidence, show us what you can do. Those were all cohoratives. They're all like, we really want to see this. We really want to know what you can do. We really want to see what you're capable of. Those are cohoratives. It shows an intensity to the verb. What's adjussive? Adjussive is like with permission. It is a command, but a command that shows a choice. Do not fear. That's the class of adjussive. That's adjussive you'll see over and over again in the Old Testament. Do not let yourself fear. Do not let yourself be afraid. That's adjussive. It is a command, but has the nuance of being a choice, a desire. Then you have the participle. What's a participle? It's an ongoing or continuous action. It carries with it the nuance of often becoming a characteristic, even a title. It's often translated as an adjective or a noun. The classic example with Psalm 23 was, the Lord is my shepherd. Shepherd is not a noun. It is a verb, but it is a participle. It's what God is always doing, and since he's always doing it, it becomes his identity, his character. He's always shepherding us. That's that participle. What's an infinitive? An infinitive is similar to the English to. It means that it's not specific in its time frame. This is going to happen. You're going to the store. When? Sometime. Don't know when. It's to. It's an infinitive. And that's the same thing in Hebrew, although it can pick up, and we use the example of, Adam and Eve there in the Garden of Eden with the knowledge of the tree, that fruit of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. And the Lord told them, the moment you eat of this, muth, tamuth. The muth was an infinitive. Tamuth was an imperfect. The moment you eat this, dying you will die. To die, you will die. Speaking of two different kinds of death. The moment you eat of this, you're going to die spiritually. And then eventually, imperfect, future, you will die physically. So there's that grammar. That infinitive is that to, something that's not specifically regulated to a period of time. And then an imperative, straightforward, is a command. 7 tenses, 7 terms. Those are our key grammatic notations within the Hebrew language. That being said, let's get into Blue Letter Bible. This is what we want to do, and we're going to spend the rest of our time today. We're going to look at verses. Now, some of this should be familiar to you because we're using Blue Letter Bible, hopefully, through your Greek studies, and you're going to use it equally in your Hebrew studies. But as a reminder, I want to go over how Blue Letter Bible works. There are some diagrams here. I'll leave the diagrams up first because it's kind of helpful sometimes to see the diagram, what we're going to be doing. When you're dealing with Blue Letter Bible, you're going to open it up, and the very first thing you're going to notice is that click on any particular verse, and you're going to see this little Tools tab. Every verse, Old Testament, New Testament, makes no difference, has this Tools tab. The moment you click on the Tools tab, immediately there's going to come up a subsection of different tabs you can look at. Interlinear, Bibles, cross-reference, commentaries, dictionaries, and miscellaneous. All of those are useful, by the way, in your Bible study. If you want to, we'll go to the one we want primarily in a minute. If you click on Bibles, it's going to give you the better part of 20 different Bible translations. So you can instantaneously look at the different translations. I'll give you an example. Let's go to our famous Genesis 1:1. Why? Because we like Genesis 1:1. If we're in Genesis 1:1 and we click on Tools, boom. There we go. All of a sudden it opens up. It defaults, by the way, to it naturally is going to go to the interlinear. So it's always going to start. But if you click on Bibles, notice that I suddenly have a lot of Bible translations. So there's, again, the better part of 20 different translations there. The most common of them are going to populate the top of it. King James, New Living Translation, New International Standard, English Standard Version, you have the Century, you have NASB 20, NASB 95, and then it starts getting into some more that are more niche that you're probably not as familiar with. The Legacy Bible, you have the Amplifieds here, you have the New English Translation, you have the Revised Standard, you have the American Standard, Young's Literal, Darby's, you have Webster's, you have the Hebrew Names Version, Latin Vulgate, that's a fun one, put Latin Vulgate in there. You have down here, this is going to be your Westminster Leningrad Codex. Is going to give you a different Hebrew Codex. You have your Septuagint, which is your Greek translation. Lots and lots and lots of different versions for different levels of familiarity and probably comfort for you. But needless to say, the Bible's give you lots of translations. Cross-references is just going to give you all the cross-references to that particular verse. These are things that cross-reference the phrases in the beginning. God created heaven and earth. These are all references in different places in both the Old and New Testament that reference that. You do have commentaries as well. a whole boatload of commentaries tied to that verse. You can read one of them, open up the commentary, as well as dictionaries. So you have dictionaries tied to that verse if you're looking for specific meanings. And the miscellaneous will give you anything from maps to different images, all tied into that verse. So a lot of information are in these tabs. What we want is the interlinear. That's what we're after. Why are we after the interlinear? Because the interlinear is going to give us our two different Bible translations. It's going to give us your English, and it's going to give us the Hebrew, both of which we want. So, interlinear, going to give you English and Hebrew. Now, our English is going to be in two places. It's going to be here at the very, very top. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It's also going to be on a left-hand column going down here when we have our interlinear tab open. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So you've got them in two places, English on the top, English on the left-hand side. Your Hebrew is going to be on the top of your tab. Remember, Hebrew reads from right to left rather than left to right. It's reverse of English. So it's Barashit bara Elohim eth hamashayim va'eth haaretz. Reads right to left, but it also is in the center. Now, what's nice is we don't want you intimidated by Hebrew, but we in no way think that you're necessarily going to be comfortable yet reading Hebrew. As you practice more, you may eventually get somewhat comfortable reading the Hebrew. But if you're not, and we're going to assume at this point, that you're still not comfortable, you're going to be in your center column here. You can just look at in the beginning and know that this is the word in the beginning. You're not going to have to read it at the top. It's just right here in line with the English. That's the benefit of the interlinear or two different versions of the Bible. English, Hebrew. Now it gives you the Hebrew in two different ways. It gives it to you as it is parsed. It gives it to you in its root. And then it also gives it to you transliterated into English out of the root, not out of the parse, but out of the root. We'll look at what that means in a minute, but just know that it gives it to you two different ways in Hebrew, and then it gives you transliterated out of the root in the English. What does that mean? Let's look down here. Okay. You've got broken down interlinear tab. You've got your Strong's number. You've got your Hebrew root word. You've got your parsing. And you've got your pronunciation. So four things that are given to you, all of them very useful to you. How does that work? Let's look at the word in the beginning. So you've got it in the English. You've got a Strong's number. The Strong's number is H7225. If you do not recall, I will remind you of what the Strong's numbers are. There was a guy. His name was, unironically, Strong. Go figure. He just carried his name over to his passage that he did, his work that he did. So the Strong's Concordance, which is what this is built off of, is a guy named Strong who went and pulled out every word in the Old Testament, every word in the New Testament. Okay, this is before there were computers. This is impressive. Pulled out every word in the Hebrew, every word in the Greek. He then alphabetized them. So every word that appears, every Hebrew word that appears in the Bible, he pulled out and he alphabetized, which is crazy nonsense. That's amazing. And then he numbered them alphabetically. So this is what this means. The word Rashid is the 7,225th word alphabetically of all words that appear in Hebrew in the Old Testament. Does that make sense? Are you following that?
Yes.
In case you're curious of how those numbers come from, what they mean, it's just the alphabetical numerical order of that particular word, not of every Hebrew word, but of all the Hebrew words that appear in the Old Testament.
The Old Testament.
Just the Old Testament Hebrew words. That's the 7,225th Hebrew word. That's how he created those numbers. So therefore, every Hebrew word has a unique number. And that we can use that to associate it without having to read it. You don't have to read Rashid. You just need to be able to click on the Strong's number, H7225. And when you click on that, boom. There we go. We're in our lexicon, we're in our dictionary for that particular word, which we'll come back to that. But needless to say, that's where the Strong's numbers are important. You also have, note, not just your Strong's numbers, you have your parsing and your pronunciation and Hebrew root words. What is the root word? Anytime you have a word, again, I apologize for the noise, it's going to be obnoxious today. Anytime you have a word, it's going to be in one of two different ways. It's going to be parsed, or it's going to be root. Give me a second. That's a little too obnoxious. Let me see if I can calm that down. Just ask not to use the power tools till I'm done with the Bible study. Root word means that it is not adjusted for that particular passage. It's just giving you the base word. So in the example here in Genesis 1:1, you have the word Rashith. Rashith is the root word, unadjusted. What is the parsed word? Barashith. It has attached to it the participle bet, in the beginning. It's not just the beginning, in the beginning. Barashith. And so you have it in two ways. You have it both as it's in the passage, parsed, and you have it as the root, unadjusted for the passage. So two different ways you can look at it, two different ways you can see it. Every word has that. Same thing down here with the word bara. Turns out that the root word is the same as the parsed word here. But bara is the root word. If it was a different particular stem, it would be a different parsed word. Turns out that in its root, bara is kal, so it just is the kal form of the verb there. So know that you've got your Strongs, you've got your parsed, and you've got your root word. How do you know what the parsing looks like? How can you tell what the parsing is? Click on your parsing. Notice the parsing is right there for you. The moment you click on your parsing, it breaks the word down for you. It gives you the fact that it is a bet, preposition, and then the noun, Rashith. You've got your Strong's number, you've got your root, you've got your parsed. If you want to see what the parsed is, and the parsed is what we're really wanting to pay attention to. The parsed is what breaks our word down into its various parts. You click on your parsing, it's going to tell you, for example, with the word Rashith, it is got your basic noun, it's common, feminine, singular, absolute. So it is going to tell you what kind of noun it is, but it's going to tell you there's a preposition attached to it. It's going to break it down. So it's be, Rashith. Two different parts. That's the parsing. So that's what our benefit is there with Blue Letter Bible. It gives you both the Strong's definition, root, what's the basic word, parsing, how is it put together in that particular sentence. Now, when you're there, there's two ways to come at getting that information. I want to show you this. You can click on it in your interlinear down here, or if you want to, you can just hover over it up top. This gets very beneficial, by the way, once you're comfortable with the Hebrew. There's the catch. If you're comfortable with the Hebrew, looking at the Hebrew, you can move much more quickly through the verse. Rather than having to go down here, I can just hover. Notice when I hover, it pops up with that exact same information. Just hovering over it, it's going to pop up and give me that same information without me having to click anything. I'm not clicking, I'm just hovering with my mouth. And it's telling me, transliteration, Berashith, from the root, Rashith, okay? Strong's number H7225. It is a preposition, noun, common, feminine, singular, absolute, English translation in the beginning. All that's there in the hover over. So if you're going through your passage, you just want to quickly glance at a verse and say, hey, what's the stem on that particular verb? Hover. Well, that's that bara. It gives you the transliteration from the root, bara, exactly the same because it's in its kal, and the kal is the root form. It is a kal, perfect, third person, masculine, singular, English translation created. That's given to me just by hovering over the actual Hebrew on top, which, if you're not intimidated by the Hebrew, is a fantastic way to get through it. Mind you, I can also click on the Hebrew on top, and it will open up the parsing for me. So I can parse it by clicking on the parsing or by clicking on the Hebrew word itself. So both ways will open up that same side window that gives me the parsing, which is what we want. This is one of the key things we're after, is to get this parsing. This is going to give us all the goodies about the construction of that particular verb, noun, whatever it might be. Two ways, click or hover, both work well. Now, when you're in that window, here we go. That side parsing window is going to give you the Hebrew word, the root word, the Strong's number, the English, and then it's going to give you the breakdown of the word. So let's go back to our word. Let's choose bara this time. So if I go to bara, and again, I can click down here. If I want to click on my bara here in my interlinear, that works. If I just want to click on bara up in my Hebrew, that works. Either way, I'm going to bring up my Hebrew parsing window here. So a pop-up window. In my pop-up window, it's going to give me on the top my inflected word. What does inflected mean? How it's used in this particular verse. With whatever additions it may have, whatever stem if it's a verb, with whatever particular type, if it's a type, whether it's a first person, second person, third person, however the verb is constructed, it's going to give me its inflected version first, then it's going to give me its root version, meaning uninflected, what the word is without any addition to it. I'll give you an example in English. If I were to say the root word is run, you can actually change that to running, runner, okay? Runniest. There's different ways you can use that word run. You can inflect it for your sentence in different ways, but the root word is always run. Same idea. You have a root word that can be changed for the context of the sentence, but the root word is unadjusted. So you have the inflected, how is it used in the sentence, and then you have the root, which is its main primary verb, unadjusted. It's going to give you the Strong's number that you can click on. So you can click on Strong's down here, or in your parsing, click on your parsing, the same thing. It's going to open up your Strong's for you. And then it's going to go down and tell you what it is. It means in English created, it's Hebrew language. It's going to give you its code. The code is just that parsing. Just don't worry so much about the code because it's given to you here. It's a verb, kal, so it's a kal verb. It's a perfect verb. Perfect means a completed action. We would translate that as past tense. It's not God is creating the heavens and the earth, or God will create the heavens and the earth. God has created, past tense, tapos na, the heavens and the earth. It's a perfect type. It's a third person masculine singular. Now, we haven't talked much about this, but this is worth notating. What is third person masculine singular? It is your pronoun. Pronouns are baked into Hebrew verbs. Whatever your pronoun is, often it's just going to be right in the verb. They can be separate, but they rarely are. Usually they're just a part of the verb. So rather than he went to the store, Hebrew just says went to the store. And by that word went, the way it's constructed, you know it's a he, she, they, us, you. All that's built into the verb itself. Your pronoun is part of the verb. What's pronouns? First person, singular, I. First person, plural, we. Second person, singular, you, singular. Second person, you, plural, you, more than one. Which, by the way, there's no more than one you in English, but Ilonggo does have that. It can be either ikaw or kamo. Ikaw, singular, kamo, plural. So Ilonggo does have that plural and singular version within the you. That's second person singular, you. Second person plural, kamo. Third person singular is going to be he if it's masculine, or she if it's feminine. Remember, Hebrew doesn't have a neuter, so there's no it. It's just he or she. It's either third person singular male or third person singular female. This is third person singular male, he, siya, in Ilonggo, because there's no designation of gender. But that's going to be a boy there because it's masculine. So he created, God being the subject here, God created. Third person plural is going to be them. Sila in Ilonggo. So that's how your person gender number comes in. First person, I. Second person, you. Third person, he, she, they, depending on whether it's singular or plural. So it's just constructed the pronoun built right there into the verb itself. So in this case, this is a verb, kal. The subject is doing the action, simple action. Created, perfect, past tense. Third person, masculine singular, Sha, he, God. He's the one that did the action. Now I want you to stop for a moment and chew on this. Look at how much information is in one single word. You have one verb, and only one verb in this sentence. In that one verb, you're being told what? Who's doing the action? It's a kal, simple action. You're being told when it was done, perfect. It's a completed action. You're being told who's doing the action. Third person masculine singular, he. All that's baked into one verb. What's baked in there is how, when, and who, all part of the verb itself. Really, that's unprecedented. English and Ilonggo have nothing that has that kind of degree of depth to it in a single word. Yet that's how Hebrew works. It's very dense wording. One word, tremendous amount of information baked into it, but all that's going to come from our parsing, which you get by clicking on either the Hebrew word or going down here and clicking on the parsing itself. Will also give it to you. Now, moving on. Again, we're going to practice all this. I want to kind of lay this out to you, Blue Letter Bible. Some of it should be familiar from your Greek because it's identical in practice to the Greek, but the information is unique to the Hebrew language. Moving on, you have your Strong's numbers. When you open up your Strong's numbers, it gives you the Hebrew word at the top, the pronunciation, that's nice to have. It's going to give you the root word, more on that in a minute. It's going to give you the part of speech, the word count, how many times does the word appear, how many times is it used in the New Old Testament, and that's going to give you its definition, which is tied into, in the case of verbs, its stem. So let's take a look. Come over here, we're going to go to our word bara. Now again, we'll go from the beginning so you can see it happen. I open up Genesis 1:1. I click on tools. The moment I click on tools, boom, interlinear opens up. Always defaults to interlinear. From my interlinear, I've got two choices. If I want to look at the word bara, I can either go down here. If I want to look at it in English first, created, there's my verb. It's H1254, meaning alphabetically, the word bara is the 1,254th word in the Hebrew Bible, as far as an alphabetical listing. I've got it here, by the way, also in my English. Parsing's over on the far side. I get it. If I open up the parsing, it pops up my parsing window. Also would open that up if I clicked on the Hebrew word up here. And if I want to open, I can open parsing both ways, clicking on the Hebrew word, clicking on the parsing. And that also gives me access to my Strong's numbers. There it is, H1254 again. So, two places I can click on it, in the parsing window or here in my interlinear window. Either way, when I click on that number, boom, I'm inside of my Strong's number. Here's my definition. As you can see at the very top, there's my word, bara. You have the bet, comments, resh, comments, aleph. So there's my word bara. Okay? I've got it written in English for me. So nice and convenient. I like they do that for us. They put the word in English for us so we can read it. Even pronunciate it for us over here. So they've got it written in English, pronounced for us, meaning this is how you'd actually say it, bara. And even if you want to,
Strong's H1254. Bara. Bara.
you can have Justin Alfred say it for you to make sure that you are pronouncing it correctly. So that's kind of nice. That's my pronunciation. I know that it's a verb. That's the part of speech. It's root word. Bara is the root word. So there is no root word to bara. It is what's called a primitive root. You don't go any deeper. Other words, and we're going to see this as we do some more Bible study, other words do have additional roots to them, not bara. Bara is itself as low as you go. That is a primary root word. Now, we're told here it's used 54 times in the Old Testament. It can be translated as, in the following manner, in the King James. Always Strong's is based on King James, because when Strong's did this, the only English translation there was, primarily, was the common one at least, was King James. That's what he used. So you have its create, creator, choose, make, cut down, dispatch, done, and to make fat, which gets entertaining. So, if you want to see where that's done, by the way, you click on that. It will take you to a word search in that, which you won't find because that's not how it's actually translated, ironically enough. You'd have to look in the King James to look that up where it says make fat. I'm curious to see what that happens. Our definitions are broken down in the verbs. Obviously, it would not happen for a noun or for an adjective, but for the case of the verbs, by their stems. Notice that are told under a kal. If our verb is a kal stem, then it's going to mean to shape, fashion, create, of heaven and earth, of man, of new conditions, of transformations. If it's nifal, reflexive, to be passive, it's to be created, of heaven and earth, of a bird, of something new, of miracles. If it's a PL stem, it means to cut down or to be cut down. If it's hifil, that's where it makes yourself fat. It's a fun one. To make yourself fat in a hifil. All that is going to be there found underneath our Strong's numbers. This give us our full definition. And again, if you want to know what stem it is, you'd have to go back out and look at your parsing and find that it's a kal. Knowing that it's a kal, we understand that this means to create, shape, or form. Always in terms of God, by the way. That's also noted here. It's always with God as the subject, the one doing the action. Bara is never associated in terms of creation to anyone else but the Lord. We don't bara. We cannot bara. There's a different Hebrew word for that called asa. Only God can bara, to create something from nothing. That's a unique characteristic and attribute of God himself. So that's our bara. Which brings us down to our Brown's, Driver, and Briggs lexicon. What is our Brown's, Driver, and Briggs? If you keep scrolling, you're going to come down to a Strong's definition. This is your lexicon. Lexicon is a fancy way to say dictionary. Our Strong's dictionary, our Strong's lexicon, just tells us here's the meaning of that word. But notice beneath that, you have a more in-depth lexicon. Strong's is always very basic. Very simple definitions, nothing in-depth. The Brown's, Driver, Briggs is a much more in-depth dictionary definition of the word. So if you get in there, it'll tell you, what does that word mean? And as you can see, it's a bit longer than the Strong's. The Strong's is that short little sentence, one little brief paragraph. The Brown's, Driver, Briggs is this. Much, much, much longer. And it will tell you, by the way, every single place that the word appears. It gives you every occurrence of the word laid out there for you, which is kind of nice. Makes it simple to follow. Which you also then follow with, notice here, underneath your Strong's numbers, it'll show you every verse that the word appears in. Keep scrolling down, we're not done yet. This is the concordance or list of the uses of this word. So the word bara, where does it appear? 54 times in 46 verses. So there's 46 unique verses. Some of them have the word bara more than once in them. So it appears 54 total times. And this is going to give you every single time the word bara appears in the Old Testament. All this is found underneath just clicking on that Strong's number. So that Strong's number, scroll up, is going to give you the Hebrew word, the pronunciation, the part of the speech, how many times it's used, how it's translated. It's going to give you the definition based upon the stem. It's going to give you a summation of the definition, an amplified definition, more in-depth with that Brown's, Driver, Briggs. And then it's going to give you every occurrence of that word in the entire Old Testament. All that just by clicking on a Strong's number.